Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to discuss my love-hate relationship with Glock. So just a little background on this. I've been a Glock user since 2002. My first Glock was a Glock Gen 3 Glock 22. And I used that for my academy. And then I also was issued a Glock 22 Gen 3 up until I think 2010, 2011 when the Gen 4s came out. So this isn't my duty gun, but this is set up like my duty gun is a Gen 4 Glock 22 40 caliber handgun. And during my time and right now, I carried this type of weapon up until 2023 when we went to a Glock 17 optic ready handgun. So a little experience, about my Glock. So you guys don't know, I'm actually like bashing on Glock. I own a lot of Glocks. Like some of the stuff that you probably see today is just the tip of the iceberg of my Glock. I own several 40 cals in different models and sizes, several 9mm in several different sizes. I also own the Glock 43, which I don't like. I'll be full on admit I'll never buy another slimline Glock ever again. But I've been to the Glock Armor School about 4 times. Been to the Advanced Armor course once, and I'm thinking about going back to it again. They don't offer them in places anymore. They only offer them in Georgia, and part of me wants to fly out to Georgia to see the Glock factory. Yeah, and you're going like, you don't really like Glock. Yeah, it feels like Stockholm syndrome sometimes when I sit there and talk about how like I don't like Glock, I don't like all this stuff. But I've also been to the Glock instructor course for law enforcement, which if you're in law enforcement, you haven't been there, if you haven't gone to it yet, I recommend it. It's a 2.5-day class, and you get to shoot, at the end you get to shoot all the Glocks, but you get to learn a lot of tips and tricks with Glocks that also come over to most striker firearms out there. And if you're interested in that, let me know. I might just do something just because I thought it was really interesting, and it does tie over to the 320s. I think probably the MMPs too, but I know for a fact that some of this stuff does tie over with the whole thing. And it's really cool when you start looking at it as a whole and stuff you can do with this gun. My God, man, I feel like I'm stuck in a bad relationship. So first off, the Glock handgun. What I don't like about it, it's the grip angle. I hate the grip angle. Over the years, I've gotten really used to doing this and trying to get that good Glock grip, bend the wrist. It's not a really good natural point of aim. To make it this how I practice with this gun, I practice with my 9mm a lot. And no matter how much I practice, I'll bring 100 rounds with me to the range. There are some days, even with my optic version handgun, that I just want to throw it at a target because I know I'm going to hit the target better than I can with the Glock handgun. And at one point I was practicing like once a month with 100 rounds, dry firing, doing all types of stuff with it. And it gets frustrating at times. And I'm really kind of, my SIG 229 makes me feel like a rock star every time I shoot it. When you go shoot, you should be getting better with it. I take this gun with me every time I go to the range. And there's a lot of history between the 229 and me. So when I was able to purchase another one, I was glad. But every time I go shoot this gun, I get better and better with it. When I go shoot this gun, it depends on the mood, and it just feels like I'm all over the place with it, even when shooting the red dot. On my Glock 27 I used to carry, I still have it. My Glock 27, shooting it at outside of 10 yards was a chore. And I'm pretty good at shooting 40. I mean, when you do it for almost 20 years, you get kind of good at it. And especially you have to get good at it because it's a duty weapon. Your life depends on it. I could take my 365 out, shoot at 15 yards and have the confidence that I can hit a target at 15 yards with this firearm. I can probably do more, maybe 20. I'm on a 15-yard range when I go practice. So next time maybe I'll go to the 25-yard range and push my luck there with it. But yeah, it's the grip angle. I can shoot my 320 and do really well with it and get better as I'm going. I can put 50 rounds to this gun and feel really good about it by the time I'm done. And a lot of it does come down to the grip angle. Same with my 229. And this is actually a carry gun. So I do carry this once in a while. But I could probably shoot 10, 15 rounds to this gun and get better with it every time. For whatever reason, I can't do that with the Glock. I don't know what it is. I mean, every time I do this even with the red dot, sometimes I'll do this. And I'll roll in some footage with that too, some B-roll footage to what I'm talking about. Even with the red dot sight, I mean, it just feels like I'm still doing that. Again, I'll roll in some footage and show you what. But yeah, the grip angle for me just kind of blows. It just feels I struggle with it a lot. I shoot the Glock very well, but again, I have shot my 320, my 226, an M&P, staccato, a lot better. And I'm gonna stick within the striker fire range too. Staccatos are kind of I want to say kind of class by themselves, but we're gonna stick with the striker fire areas, the striker fire realm, because there's a lot of good striker fires out there. Even the Walther PDP I heard is really good, better grip angle, and I saw a video with the Recon brothers. If you haven't checked them out, there's a European group that talks about why they didn't go with Glock, and they broke things down really good, and I have to agree with them. I'm going to kind of show you some tricks and tips I've learned over the years to get better with the Glock. Again, it's not my favorite handgun. It's a love-hate relationship. It feels more like Stockholm Syndrome. I'm not kidding you when I sit there and say, these guns you can do all types of stuff with them. You can put aftermarket parts on them, aftermarket slides. I didn't want to go out and buy a whole new firearm, so I bought a slide, it's a Gen 3 slide on a Gen 4 with a Gen 3 stainless steel guide rod. And it works really well. So yeah, I just didn't want to spend the money on the entire, on a new gun. So I just used my Gen 4. I like my Gen 4s. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of start off with a couple of products here. Again, one of the other reasons I like the Glock is the takedown method. You can, not only can you strip it down really quickly, but you can take this thing apart with one tool. You can change parts with it, with the Glock, within probably, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. It's really simple and the tool is really cheap. But I'm going to kind of go over a couple of things that I've learned over the years that help me improve the grip angle of the gun. The first one is going to be the grip force adapter. The grip force adapter came out probably in 2010. I heard about it, I think 2011 or something like that. I bought one. And this is what it kind of looks like. It has these ridges on it. I don't know why they have these ridges on it. The Gen 3s, from my understanding, didn't have a beaver tail, and this is kind of what the Gen 3s look like. I didn't feel like pulling out one of my Gen 3 handguns, but you'd get slide bite. A lot of people complained about that. I never got it. So this here made a beaver tail and really just kind of gave you that 1911 grip angle that everybody likes. The problem with this though, on the Gen 3s, it would hurt my hand right in here. And you can't use OEM parts, so you can't use the actual Glock trigger housing pin. It's called the trigger housing pin. You have to use your own pin. Uh, so that kind of sucks a little bit. This one here, they don't come in length anymore. I had to actually cut it down. I had to take once I had it on there, I had to cut it down and file it down a little bit. They do make another one, which is smoother. Again, I had to cut the pin down, which I didn't really like. And then you can use it, again, you get that 19 grip, neutral grip angle, natural point of aim for me anyways, and for mostly a lot of people, that natural point of aim. The problem with this though is that you have to buy this. You have to buy these two. This is like $30 or something like that, $25, $30 when you just want this one. I do like this one. This one feels more comfortable. And I have this on my Glock 19. I'm probably going to keep it there on my Glock 19. You just take off the medium back strap. The medium back straps always help me control the gun a lot better, especially when it was 40 cal. But I'm finding out now that 9mm, it's a lot softer shooting, get the same results. But I'm going to keep this on here for now on my Glock 19. This is one of those things where it's okay putting it on there. I'm not going to use it. I used it for a while, but every time I used it, these ridges just would hurt right here. Would feel uncomfortable. I don't say hurt, but just feel uncomfortable, and I don't know why they're there. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. No. We'll go on to another option here I found online. So it's Carol Defense, and these things run about between $30 and $50, depending on what you're buying. They even make one for the 43 if you really, really want one for the 43. Personally, I don't care about the 43, so I'm not going to be getting one for the 43. But they have this one, and they also have this other one that's low profile. It also comes with a metal trigger housing pin. And this one seems to fit my hand a lot better. You just get right up in there, and you get that natural point of aim. And I really like it. So kind of looking at their website, they also have like different models now. It looks like they have a low profile of this one here, if you really like it, which probably be more for the medium hand version. But I'm just kind of putting that out there, I was kind of on their website. But they have different ones for the Glocks. They even have stuff for like different firearms out there, like the M&P, the Walther PDP, and other handguns. But I kind of like this, the way this fits. This feels really comfortable in my hand, and I've been shooting it really well with this. And this seems to help a lot with the with that grip angle that I don't like. The last one is kind of something you can do with your beaver tails. And I've used this a couple of times, and it works really well. If you're that kind of person that's really good with cutting stuff down and not messing it up. So these are the Glock beaver tails. You just kind of cut them down a little bit. If you have one, you kind of want to cut it right around. You'll get these ridges in here. Cut it down to the third ridge or above the third ridge. I did that. And I did that I lined it up and tried to cut them evenly. And you could use Glock OME parts on here. I did this for a while, and you can see right there that it kind of makes that back strap a little bit more neutral. It works. I kind of wish I knew this sooner. You can also use a large one. And it works just as well. And you're probably wondering why I didn't do this sooner. Well, I didn't really know about it. I've seen people cut them up, even cut them right below where it says Glock to cover that ridge up. So someone had kind of explained this, which was kind of interesting. And I actually already had the Carol Defense stuff and grips, and I just kind of tried it out. And I actually kind of like them. I ordered these through the Glock store. and so I didn't use my own because I have Gen 4s. Didn't want to cut them up in case one day they're worth an extra $100 because they don't make them anymore. So they work well as far as getting that neutral grip angle. Again, I'll roll in some B-roll footage. But right now on the Glock 22, I'm just using the OME grip angle. Why? Because I hate myself. I'm just kidding. And I just kind of keep it on there just because it's the Glock 22, and I'm used to the grip. I'm used to with at least with the sights, bringing them up and finding that. With the optic, it is a little different. As far as Glock mags go, I never have any issue with the Glock mags. I like the Glock mags. I kind of like the metal mags a little bit more. I started using those when I got my 320, and I really like those a little bit better. They seem to, when you eject them, they pop out a little bit faster. But I never had any issue with Glock mags, and I know there's there's a Staccato made a metal mag, or what was it? They contracted with a company, I can't think of the name offhand, to make a metal mag. I think it was. It doesn't matter. There's a couple of metal mags out there that work really well, and they come with Staccatos, and they work really well in the Glocks. But if I'm gonna stick with Glock magazines, I'm gonna stick with OEM, and they're actually kind of cheaper than the regular ones. I don't have any issues with that. I think they're like in the 20s. I think like if I've seen them for like $20, $25, $26, $27 if you probably look around at certain places for $22 a mag, where Smith & Wesson and SIG, they're like in the 30s and 40s. I think some of the SIG mags are in $60 bucks. It gets expensive with the metal ones, but I don't have any issue with the Glock magazines. Now this kind of comes in the controversial part here when I start talking about the Glock handgun and law enforcement, right? Law enforcement loves this gun. My department issues this gun. I found it, the more I kind of got into the firearms realm, especially as a police officer, you find that there are other firearms out there. Other people are saying that, hey, some officers shoot better with different type of weapon systems than they do with a Glock, and which is true. I am one of those. I am convinced that one of my first guns was the SIG 229. That was back in like the 90s, late 90s. I bought it. It was actually a German-made one. I didn't know the difference between a German-made and whatever, until later on, and I kicked myself for selling it. But I shot this gun really well. I've shot the 226 really well. I used to own a 226, and I shot those guns really well. And I'm convinced that if I went to work for a different department, they said, you carry whatever you want, I'd be carrying a SIG 226. Maybe until the 320s came out. And maybe then carrying a 320. That's just me. I really like the hammer-fired SIGs. They have a special place in my heart. And I'm not going to lie when I sit there and say I would have carried this over a Glock. I would have carried this over my Glock 19, and they're about the same size, even though the Glock 19 is my favorite gun. It's been a lot of places with me. But for law enforcement to sit there and go, hey, we're only going to use one gun, we're not going to use any others, I kind of get it. It's kind of a inexpensive way to issue out firearms. Even though Glocks they're not that inexpensive anymore. They're kind of keeping up with the market. They're easy to change out, easy to buy parts for most of the time, very easy to maintain. Takes you 15 minutes to 20 minutes to change out all the parts. But I also believe that not everybody has the same natural point of aim as the Glock. I know I don't. I always struggle with this, trying to find the target, especially when I'm qualifying or speed, when I was doing competition. And I sucked at competition, so don't be like, oh my God, you're a competition shooter. Yeah, I did it for 2 years and never really advanced in my, never really advanced. I think I was like a marksman the entire time, which is the lowest thing. But I noticed even when I was shooting, I would always bring it up and I'm trying to find that front sight. And I've noticed that with me, even on a red dot pistol, I'm still kind of sometimes still looking for the red dot. And I think that it's a good idea to have departments open up their policy and sit there and say, hey, you know what, we issue a firearm. I know a lot of departments do this. There's an approved list, and you can go out and buy it. You have to buy it on your own. You have to buy the holster on your own, the light and red dot, and the magazine pouch, and then you got to qualify with it. As far as maintaining it, I think that I think some departments allow them to take it to a certified armor, or maybe their department armors are certified. I think it'd be kind of cool, to be honest, if I went to like a staccato class and learn how to put together staccato, even though I don't own one, but just for the department, or you go to a certified armor, like there's places that you can go take your gun to that are authorized by the department to work on them. So that would be my experience with that. And that's all I'm going to say about department issued handguns. I think that most all departments should have like an approved list. Yeah, you can issue out the Glock, but it's not for everybody. That natural point of aim, some people have it, some people don't. Some people work very hard to be accurate with this gun, when I've been more accurate with my 320, the M&P that I rented, and other guns I've rented in the past. They have that natural point of aim for me, and they're just, I think they're better shooting firearms than the Glock out there. And it's a polymer-based handgun. All the ones I've talked about are polymer-based frames and metal, the striker fire guns, and I think they're better ones out there. As far as like the Gen 6, I kind of mentioned the Gen 6 may have a different grip angle on it, or one you can. I might just buy one if it's like that, just because I want to test it out and see if it is. Again, I have this love-hate relationship with the gun. I take it to the range, and sometimes it works great, and sometimes I'm just want to throw it down range and just leave it there. As you can see, I own a lot of different Glock handguns. Again, this is just the tip of the iceberg for me as far as Glocks go. I own, several 9mm, several 40 cals, different sizes. I own a 35, which I really like. I like my 35. I have a 23, which is this size of a gun. I have a Glock 19, Glock 22, Glock 27, and part of me still wants to go out and buy a Glock 26, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't really need a Glock 26. It just will sit in my safe. And I don't even, again, off duty, I carry a SIG, and I may go get something different because I kind of want something different now. But again, this is my love-hate relationship with Glock. I practice a lot with the Glock, and I do think that either cutting down the Glock beaver tail down a little bit to where it fills in this gap or this part here, or even the Carroll Defense grips work well. You can get the grip force adapters, but again, I've had this. I bought a couple of these in the past. I bought this one this year. I just don't like the ridges on it. And if you want the smooth texture one, you're going to have to buy the one with the ridges. It comes in a 2-pack, where the Carroll Defense it's one. And again, I kind of like the smaller one on my Gen 5. So, and yes, sometimes it feels like Stockholm syndrome, especially when Glock comes out with something new. It's like, oh, I gotta get that. yeah. Also, I own the book and I have the Glock knife and yeah, and the Glock training bullets, which are kind of cool. Yeah. So maybe I have Stockholm syndrome. I don't know, but uh, but that's my relationship with Glock. My love hate relationship with Glock. I do plan on buying another firearm, a non Glock firearm, because I want something new and different and exciting, and so. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. And stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.